Ji-woo stood at the edge of the transport platform, staring at the massive black palace before her. Her hands shook, but she kept them clasped tightly in front of her blue ceremonial dress. The fabric felt heavy against her skin, woven with threads that sparkled like stars. It was supposed to make her look important, worthy of marrying a dragon leader. She wasn't sure it worked. "Are you ready?" asked Ambassador Tae-min from behind her. His voice was gentle, but she could hear the worry in it. Ji-woo took a deep breath. "I have to be." She was 19 years old. 3 months ago, she had been studying at the Earth Coalition Academy, learning about alien cultures and dreaming of exploring the galaxy. Now she was about to marry Kang Ho, the sovereign of the dragon clans. He was 750 years old. She had seen his picture once, a tall figure with silver-white hair and eyes that glowed like molten gold. The dragons could take human-like forms, but everyone knew what they really were: ancient, powerful, dangerous. The war between humans and dragons had lasted 5 years. Thousands had died on both sides. Cities had burned. Entire colonies had been destroyed. The fighting only stopped when both sides realized they would destroy each other completely if they continued. The peace treaty was simple but terrible, a marriage bond between the human government and the dragon clans, a symbol of unity, a promise of peace. Ji-woo had volunteered. When the government asked for candidates, hundreds of people had applied. Most were older, more experienced diplomats, but Kang Ho had chosen her file from all the others. Nobody knew why. Some said he wanted someone young and easy to control. Others whispered that dragons preferred youth because it amused them to watch humans age and die so quickly. She tried not to think about that. The palace doors opened slowly, making a sound like thunder. 2 dragon guards stood on either side, both in their humanoid forms. They were tall and muscular, with scales visible on their necks and hands. Their eyes tracked her every movement as she walked forward. Ji-woo kept her chin up and her steps steady, even though her heart hammered in her chest. Inside, the palace was breathtaking. The walls were made of black stone that seemed to absorb light, but veins of silver ran through them like lightning frozen in place. The ceiling stretched so high she couldn't see the top. Massive pillars held up the structure, each one carved with scenes of dragons in flight, breathing fire, conquering worlds. "This way," said one of the guards, his voice deep and rumbling. They led her through corridor after corridor. Ji-woo tried to memorize the path, but everything looked the same. Finally, they stopped in front of a set of enormous double doors decorated with gold and gems. "The sovereign waits inside," the guard said. "You will enter alone." Ji-woo nodded. She waited until the guards stepped back, then pushed open the doors with both hands. They were heavy, but they moved smoothly. The room beyond was smaller than she expected. It was still large by human standards, but compared to the grand hall she had walked through, this felt almost intimate. A fire burned in a fireplace carved from red stone. Comfortable furniture was arranged around the room. Chairs, sofas, tables made of dark wood. Shelves lined the walls, filled with books, scrolls, and objects she didn't recognize. And there, standing by the fireplace, was Kang Ho. He was taller than his pictures suggested, at least 7 feet. His hair was indeed silver white, falling past his shoulders like a waterfall of moonlight. He wore simple clothes, a black shirt and pants, but they couldn't hide the power that radiated from him. His golden eyes found her immediately, and Ji-woo felt like she was being examined by something far older and wiser than she could understand. "Ji-woo," he said. His voice was smooth but carried weight, like distant thunder. "Welcome." She bowed, just as she had been taught. "Thank you, Sovereign Kang Ho. I am honored to be here." "Are you?" He tilted his head slightly. "Or are you terrified?" The directness of the question surprised her. Jiwoo straightened up and met his eyes. Both, she admitted, but honor and fear can exist together. Something flickered in his expression. It might have been surprise or amusement, she couldn't tell. He gestured to one of the chairs near the fire. "Sit. We should talk before the ceremony." Jiwoo walked over and sat down carefully. The chair was incredibly comfortable, probably worth more than her family's entire house back on Earth. Kang-ho sat across from her, moving with a grace that seemed impossible for someone so large. "Do you know why I chose you?" he asked. "No," Jiwoo said honestly. "I've wondered, but I couldn't figure it out." "Your application essay," Kang-ho said. "Most candidates wrote about duty, peace, sacrifice. Noble words, but empty. You wrote about curiosity. You said you wanted to understand dragon culture, to learn our history, to find common ground between our species. You weren't trying to impress me. You were being honest." Jiwoo felt her cheeks flush. "I didn't think anyone would actually read those." "I read every single one." Kang-ho leaned back in his chair. "I have lived for 7.5 centuries. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have witnessed countless wars, treaties, and alliances. Most fail because neither side truly tries to understand the other. They make agreements based on fear or necessity, not genuine connection." "And you think we can make a genuine connection?" Jiwoo asked. "I don't know," Kang-ho said simply. "But you are the first human who seemed interested in trying. That matters." They sat in silence for a moment. The fire crackled softly. Outside, Jiwoo could hear the distant sounds of the palace, footsteps, voices, the rustle of wings. "What happens now?" she finally asked. "Now we marry," Kang-ho said. "The ceremony will happen in 1 hour. It will be simple by dragon standards, just the exchange of vows and the binding ritual. After that, you will be my wife and the lady of the dragon clans. Your life will change completely." "I know," Jiwoo said quietly. Kang-ho studied her for a long moment. "You're braver than you look." "I'm more scared than I look too," she replied. This time she was certain she saw him smile. It was small, barely there, but real. "Come," he said, standing up. "I'll show you to your chambers. You should prepare for the ceremony. If you need anything, ask the attendants. They've been instructed to help you with whatever you require." Jiwoo stood as well. As she followed Kang-ho out of the room, she realized something surprising. She was still terrified, still overwhelmed by everything happening. But underneath that fear was something else, something small but growing. Hope. Maybe this wouldn't be just a political arrangement. Maybe somehow they could make this work. She was human, young and small and temporary compared to the ancient dragons. But humans had survived and thrived in a dangerous galaxy by being adaptable, by finding ways to connect with other species, by never giving up. If she could do that here with Kang-ho, maybe they could build something real. Maybe she could show the dragons what humanity was truly capable of. The ceremony was about to begin, and Jiwoo was ready. The ceremony had been beautiful in a strange, overwhelming way. Jiwoo stood in the great hall surrounded by hundreds of dragons in their humanoid forms. They watched her with glowing eyes, gold, silver, red, green, as she spoke the ancient vows in their language. The words felt heavy on her tongue, each syllable carrying centuries of tradition and power. Kang-ho had stood beside her, tall and imposing in his ceremonial robes of black and silver. When it came time for the binding ritual, he had taken her hand in his. His skin was warm, almost hot to the touch. A dragon priestess had wrapped their joined hands with a silver cord that glowed with its own inner light. The cord had tightened, then dissolved into sparks that sank into their skin. Jiwoo had felt something then, a connection, a thread that now tied her to Kang-ho in ways she didn't fully understand. Now the ceremony was over. The guests had left. The grand hall was empty and silent. Jiwoo walked beside Kang-ho through the dark corridors of the palace. Her ceremonial dress rustled with each step. Neither of them spoke. The weight of what had just happened pressed down on her shoulders. She was married now, bound to a dragon who had lived more than 7 centuries. What did he expect from her? What would happen when they reached his chambers? Her chambers now too, she supposed. They climbed a spiral staircase that seemed to go on forever. Finally, they reached a doorway at the very top of one of the palace towers. Kang Ho opened it and gestured for her to enter first. The room beyond took her breath away. It was enormous, with windows that stretched from floor to ceiling on 3 sides. Through them, she could see the night sky filled with more stars than she had ever seen on Earth. Mountains stretched into the distance, their peaks glowing silver in the moonlight. The room itself was furnished with dark wood and soft fabrics. A huge bed stood against one wall, big enough for 5 humans, or one very large dragon, she supposed. Kang Ho closed the door behind them. Ji-Woo's heart started beating faster. She turned to face him, trying to keep her expression calm and respectful. "You look like you're about to face an execution," Kang Ho said quietly. He walked past her to a table near one of the windows and poured himself a drink from a crystal container. "Would you like some? It's not alcohol. Dragon wine would probably kill a human. This is just juice from mountain fruit." "Yes, please," Ji-Woo said, grateful for something to do with her hands. He poured a second glass and brought it to her. Their fingers brushed as she took it. She sipped carefully. The juice was sweet and cold, with a slight tang that made her tongue tingle. "I'm not going to hurt you," Kang Ho said, watching her. "Is that what you're afraid of?" Ji-Woo considered lying, then decided against it. "I don't know what to expect," she admitted. "I've read about dragon customs, but there are things the books don't explain. Things about marriage, about wedding nights." Kang Ho was quiet for a moment. Then he walked to one of the large chairs near the window and sat down. "Come," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. "Sit. We should talk." Ji-Woo sat, relieved but also confused. This wasn't what she had expected. "Let me be clear," Kang Ho said. "This marriage is political. I don't expect anything from you except your presence and your cooperation in maintaining peace between our peoples. You have your own chambers if you prefer them. You're free to come and go as you wish within the palace. I won't force you into anything you don't want." Some of the tension drained from Ji-Woo's shoulders. "Thank you," she said softly. "But," Kang Ho continued, "I would like to talk. You interest me, Ji-Woo. Not many things interest me anymore after 750 years. "What do you want to talk about?" she asked. "Tell me about yourself. Not the information in your file. I already read that. Tell me who you are, what you think about, what you dream of." It was such an unexpected request that Ji-Woo almost laughed. "You're 750 years old," she said. "What could I possibly tell you that would be interesting? I've only been alive for 19 years. "Exactly," Kang Ho said, leaning forward. 19 years. Do you know how long 19 years feels to me? Like a few months, maybe. I've slept longer than you've been alive. But you fit an entire lifetime of experiences into those 19 years. You've learned, grown, changed. You've become who you are in such a brief time. That fascinates me." Ji-Woo thought about that. "I never considered it that way. To me, 19 years is everything. It's my whole life." "Tell me about it," Kang Ho said. "Tell me what it's like to be human." So she did. At first she felt awkward, stumbling over her words, but Kang Ho listened with such complete attention that she gradually relaxed. She told him about growing up on Earth, in a small city by the ocean. She described her family, her parents who worked as teachers, her younger brother who wanted to be a pilot. She talked about school, about her friends, about the first time she saw a real alien spacecraft land in her city. "I was 12, she said, her eyes distant with memory. The ship was huge, covered in lights that changed colors. I stood there staring at it for hours. My parents had to drag me away. That's when I knew I wanted to work with other species, to be part of something bigger than just Earth. And now you're married to a dragon, Kang Ho said. There was something in his voice, not mockery, but maybe a hint of irony. Yes, Jiwoo said. Life is strange sometimes. It is, he agreed. He stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. I remember the first time I saw a human. It was about 300 years ago. Your species was just beginning to explore beyond your solar system. You had these tiny, fragile ships that barely worked. One of them crashed on a planet in dragon territory. I was sent to investigate. What did you think of them? Jiwoo asked, coming to stand beside him. I thought you were doomed, Kang Ho said honestly. So small, so weak, so short-lived. I couldn't imagine how your species had survived at all, let alone reach the stars. But the human from that crashed ship, a man named Yun-Ho, he surprised me. He wasn't afraid. He looked at me, at my dragon form, and he smiled. He asked me questions about my world, my people. He was dying from his injuries, but he wanted to learn about me. He died 3 days later, but in those 3 days, he taught me something. What? Jiwoo asked softly. That strength isn't just about power or longevity, Kang Ho said. It's about curiosity, about finding wonder even in the face of death. Humans live such brief lives, but you fill them with so much passion, so much determination. You don't have time to waste, so you don't waste it. Dragons live for centuries. We have all the time in the world, and because of that, we often forget why life matters. Jiwoo looked up at him. His golden eyes were fixed on the stars, but she could see something in his expression. A kind of loneliness, she understood. Is that why you agreed to this marriage? She asked. To remember what matters? Kang Ho turned to her. Partly, but also because I believe humans and dragons need each other. You have passion and innovation. We have knowledge and stability. Together we could build something incredible. Or we could destroy each other, Jiwoo said. Yes, Kang Ho acknowledged. That's also possible. That's why this marriage is so important. If we can make it work, if we can show both our peoples that cooperation is possible, maybe we have a chance. They stood together in silence, looking out at the night sky. Jiwoo realized something then. She had come here expecting a monster, or at least a cold, distant ruler. But Kang Ho was neither of those things. He was lonely, ancient and powerful, but lonely. He had lived so long that very few things touched him anymore. Can I ask you something? Jiwoo said. Of course. What was the happiest moment of your life? Kang Ho looked at her, surprised. Then he smiled, a real smile this time, not just a hint of one. No one has ever asked me that before. Well, I'm asking, Jiwoo said. 750 years is a long time. Something must have made you truly happy. He thought about it for a long moment. I had a teacher once, he finally said. An old dragon named Hei-Wan. She was ancient even by our standards, over 2,000 years old. She taught me everything about being a leader, about understanding other beings. She died 400 years ago, but before she died, she told me something. She said that the secret to a long life isn't just surviving, it's finding reasons to keep being surprised by the world. And have you? Jiwoo asked. Have you kept being surprised? Not as much as I should have, Kang Ho admitted. Until recently. What changed recently? He looked at her. I read an essay by a 19-year-old human girl who wanted to understand dragons, who saw a war and thought, maybe we could be friends instead. Jiwoo felt her cheeks grow warm. I just wrote what I honestly felt. I know, Kang Ho said. That's what made it surprising. The night stretched on, and they kept talking. About everything and nothing, about humans and dragons, about peace and war, about the small moments that made life worth living. When Ji-woo finally felt tired, Kang-ho showed her to a comfortable bedroom attached to his chambers. "Sleep well," he said. "Tomorrow we have much work to do." As Ji-woo lay in the soft bed, staring up at the ceiling, she realized something. She had come here expecting the worst night of her life. Instead, she had spent hours talking with someone who might actually become her friend. Maybe even more than that eventually. But for now, friendship was enough. Ji-woo woke to sunlight streaming through the enormous windows. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then it all came rushing back. The ceremony, the conversation with Kang-ho, the fact that she was now married to a 750-year-old dragon leader. She sat up and looked around the bedroom. It was luxurious beyond anything she had ever experienced. The bed was so comfortable, she felt like she was floating. Through the open doorway, she could see into the main chamber. It was empty. Kang-ho was already gone. A soft knock came at the door. "Lady Ji-woo?" a voice called. "May I enter?" "Yes," Ji-woo said, pulling the blanket up to her shoulders. A young dragon woman entered, carrying a tray of food. She had dark hair and amber eyes, and she wore simple servant's clothes. "Good morning, my lady. I am Nari. I've been assigned as your personal attendant. The sovereign requested that you break your fast and then join him in the council chamber." "Council chamber?" Ji-woo asked, taking the tray. There was fruit, bread, and some kind of meat she didn't recognize. Everything smelled delicious. "Yes, my lady. The sovereign wishes to introduce you to the clan leaders." "They've been arriving all morning." Ji-woo's stomach dropped. She had known this would come eventually, but she had hoped for more time to adjust. "What should I wear?" Nari smiled. "I've prepared several options for you. The sovereign suggested you might prefer human-style clothing rather than traditional dragon robes." "He did?" That surprised her. "He was quite specific about it," Nari said. "He said you should be comfortable and feel like yourself." Ji-woo ate quickly while Nari showed her the clothing options. They settled on a simple but elegant dress in deep blue with comfortable shoes that wouldn't make her feet hurt. Nari helped her with her hair, pulling it back in a style that was professional but not too formal. "You look lovely," Nari said when they were finished. "The sovereign will be pleased." "Does he care about that sort of thing?" Ji-woo asked. Nari's expression became thoughtful. "The sovereign doesn't care about appearance in the way you might think. But he notices everything. He pays attention to whether people are comfortable, whether they're being true to themselves. That matters to him." Ji-woo found that interesting. It matched what she had learned about Kang-ho the night before. He was observant, thoughtful, more interested in genuine connection than surface appearances. Nari led her through the palace to the council chamber. It was a massive room with a long table made of dark stone. Seats lined both sides, and at the head of the table sat Kang-ho. He wore formal robes today, black with silver embroidery that seemed to move in patterns she couldn't quite follow. Around the table sat 12 dragons, all in their humanoid forms. They were old. She could tell by the way they held themselves, the weight of centuries in their eyes. Some looked curious as she entered. Others looked skeptical. A few looked downright hostile. "Ah, Ji-woo," Kang-ho said, standing. "Come, sit beside me." There was an empty chair to his right. Ji-woo walked to it, keeping her head high and her steps confident, even though her heart was pounding. She could feel every eye in the room tracking her movement. "Clan leaders," Kang-ho said once she was seated. "This is my wife, Lady Ji-woo. She represents not only humanity but also the future of our alliance with Earth." One of the dragons, an older man with gray hair and cold blue eyes, spoke up. "With respect, Sovereign, she is a child. She has lived less than 2 decades. How can she possibly represent anything meaningful?" Ji-woo felt her face flush, but before she could respond, Kang-ho spoke. Clan leader Dong-su, I understand your concern, but perhaps you should hear from Jiwoo herself before making judgments. After all, underestimating humans has cost us dearly in the past. Dong-su's eyes narrowed, but he nodded. Very well. Tell us, human child, what makes you worthy of standing beside our sovereign? Jiwoo took a deep breath. She could feel the challenge in his words, the test. She looked around the table at all the ancient faces staring at her. Then she stood up. You're right, she said clearly. I am young. I've only been alive for 19 years. Compared to any of you, I'm barely a moment in time. She saw some of the dragons nod, satisfied that she knew her place. But that's exactly why I'm here, Jiwoo continued, because humans don't have the luxury of centuries. We have decades if we're lucky. We can't afford to waste time on old grudges or centuries-long debates. When we see a problem, we have to solve it now. When we want something, we have to achieve it quickly. When we make mistakes, we have to learn from them immediately because we don't have hundreds of years to try again. She walked slowly around the table as she spoke, meeting each dragon's eyes in turn. You've all lived long enough to see empires rise and fall. You have wisdom that comes from centuries of experience. But do you know what humans have? Urgency. We know our time is limited, so we make every day count. We innovate because we have to. We adapt because there's no other choice. We dream big because we know we only have one lifetime to make those dreams real. Pretty words, said another dragon, a woman with red-tinged hair. But words don't win wars. Power does. You're right, clan leader Hyejin, Jiwoo said, remembering the names Kang Ho had told her about. Power wins wars. But you know what humans figured out? Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is change the fight. You're stronger than us, faster, you live longer. In a straight battle, dragons win every time. So we didn't fight you straight. We built ships you couldn't track. We developed weapons you couldn't predict. We formed alliances with species you had ignored. We changed the rules of the fight because we couldn't win by your rules. She returned to her seat and looked directly at Dong-su. That's what makes me worthy. Not my age or my experience, but the fact that I represent a species that refuses to give up, that finds ways to matter despite our limitations. You've had 700, 800, 1,000 years to make your mark on the universe. I have maybe 60 or 70 years left, so you'd better believe I'm going to make them count. The room was silent. The dragons stared at her with various expressions, some impressed, some thoughtful, some still skeptical. Then Kang Ho began to clap. It was slow, deliberate, and soon other dragons joined in. Not all of them, but enough. Well said, Kang Ho said with a slight smile. Does anyone else wish to question my choice of bride? Dong-su leaned back in his chair, studying Jiwoo with new interest. Perhaps I was hasty in my judgment, he said slowly. The human has spirit, at least. She has more than spirit, said another dragon, an elderly man with kind eyes. She has perspective. Perhaps that is what we need. We have become too comfortable in our long lives, too slow to change. Maybe a human can remind us why change matters. The meeting continued, but Jiwoo had made her point. The dragons still questioned many things about the alliance, but they no longer questioned her. She participated in the discussions, offering ideas about how humans and dragons could work together. Some of her suggestions were dismissed, but others were actually considered seriously. When the meeting finally ended hours later, Jiwoo was exhausted. She had used every bit of her training, her intelligence, her courage. As the clan leaders filed out, several of them nodded to her with what seemed like genuine respect. That was impressive, Kang Ho said once they were alone. Where did that speech come from? Honestly, Jiwoo said, sinking into her chair. I was terrified, but then I realized something. They expected me to be weak because I'm human and young. They expected me to apologize for taking up space in their world. And I decided I wasn't going to do that. Why not? Because humanity didn't come this far by apologizing for existing, Jiwoo said. We're small and weak and short-lived, but we're here. We've made it to the stars. We've built civilizations. We've survived extinction events and wars and plagues. We've earned our place in this galaxy. And I'm not going to act like we haven't. Kang Ho looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. You know, he said slowly, I've lived for 7.5 centuries. I've seen countless species, met thousands of beings, and I've noticed something. The ones who survive, who thrive, aren't always the strongest or the smartest or the longest-lived. What are they? Jiwoo asked. The ones who refuse to accept limitations, Kang Ho said. The ones who look at impossible odds and say, watch me. Humans have that quality. You have that quality. Is that a compliment? It's an observation, Kang Ho said. But yes, also a compliment. They walked back through the palace together. Jiwoo's feet hurt, and her head ached from concentrating so hard for so long. But she felt something else, too. Pride, satisfaction, a sense that maybe she really could do this. What happens now? She asked. Now we continue, Kang Ho said. Building trust between our peoples won't happen overnight. It will take time, effort, patience. There will be setbacks and challenges. Some dragons will never accept you. Some humans will never accept me. But we keep trying anyway. Because we don't have the luxury of giving up, Jiwoo said. Exactly, Kang Ho agreed. You're learning quickly. I have to, Jiwoo said with a small smile. I only have about 70 years left, remember? Kang Ho laughed, a real, genuine laugh that echoed through the corridor. 70 years suddenly seems like not enough time, he said. I think I'd like to see what you accomplish in those 7 decades. Then I guess you'd better stick around, Jiwoo said. I guess I had better, Kang Ho agreed. And for the first time since arriving at the palace, Jiwoo felt like this marriage might actually work. Not as a political arrangement, but as a real partnership. She brought urgency and innovation. He brought wisdom and stability. Together, they might actually change both their worlds. She just had to keep being herself, young, human, determined, and absolutely refusing to apologize for any of it. 3 weeks had passed since the wedding ceremony. Jiwoo had settled into a routine of sorts, though every day still brought new challenges. She attended council meetings, met with various clan representatives, and slowly learned the complex web of dragon politics and culture. What surprised her most was Kang Ho himself. She had expected him to be distant, to treat their marriage as purely political. Instead, he sought out her company. They ate meals together. He showed her the palace library, which contained books and documents from thousands of years of dragon history. They walked in the mountain gardens in the evening. They talked about everything: philosophy, science, art, the differences between human and dragon culture. Tonight, they sat together on one of the palace balconies, looking out at the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of orange and purple, and the mountains in the distance glowed with fading light. "Can I ask you something personal?" Jiwoo said. Kang Ho looked at her. "Of course. In all your 750 years, have you ever been in love?" The question seemed to surprise him. He was quiet for a long moment, his golden eyes fixed on the horizon. "Once," he finally said. "A very long time ago. Her name was Suwa. She was a dragon from the Western clans. We were young, well, young by dragon standards. I was barely a century old. What happened?" "We were together for almost 50 years, Kang Ho said softly. "Those were good years, happy years. But she wanted something I couldn't give her." "What did she want?" "Children," Kang Ho said. "Dragon children take decades to be born and centuries to mature. It's a massive commitment. Suwa wanted a family, wanted to raise young ones to create a legacy. But I was already being groomed for leadership. My life was filled with politics, wars, responsibilities. I kept telling her later, we have time. Dragons always have time after all. But she didn't want to wait, Jiwoo guessed. No, Kang Ho said. After 50 years, she left me. She found another dragon who wanted the same things she did. Last I heard, they have 3 children and live peacefully in the Western Territories. She's happy. And you? Kang Ho smiled, but there was sadness in it. I threw myself into work, into being the best leader I could be. I told myself that my personal happiness didn't matter compared to the good I could do for my people. And for 600 years, I believed that. What changed? I met a 19-year-old human who reminded me what passion looks like, Kang Ho said, looking at her. You've been here 3 weeks, Jiwoo. Do you know what you've accomplished in that time? Jiwoo shook her head. You've learned our language well enough to hold conversations. You've memorized the names and positions of over 50 clan leaders and their families. You've proposed 3 different cultural exchange programs between humans and dragons. You've mediated 2 disputes between clan members. You've started a project to translate human literature into dragon languages. And you did all of this while still adjusting to a completely new life, in a completely new world, married to someone you barely know. I just did what needed to be done, Jiwoo said, feeling her cheeks warm. Exactly, Kang Ho said. You saw what needed to happen, and you made it happen. Do you know how long it would take most dragons to accomplish what you've done? Years, maybe decades. We have so much time that we move slowly, carefully, endlessly deliberating. But you don't have that luxury, so you don't waste time. You act. He stood up and walked to the edge of the balcony, his hands gripping the railing. You've taught me something important, he continued. I've spent 600 years being cautious, being patient. Always thinking about the long term, the centuries ahead. But I've forgotten how to care about now, about today, about the present moment. Jiwoo joined him at the railing. Is that a bad thing? Being careful and thinking long term? Not always, Kang Ho said. But sometimes, yes. Sometimes you need to take risks, to make bold choices, to say this matters now instead of, we'll deal with it eventually. Humans understand that. You have to, because eventually isn't guaranteed for your species. We're mortal, Jiwoo said softly. We die, usually before we're even 100 years old, so we have to make our lives matter while we can. And that makes you braver than us, Kang Ho said, turning to look at her. Do you understand that? We dragons fear death perhaps more than any species in the galaxy because we experience so little of it. We live so long that we forget we can die. We become comfortable, complacent. But you humans? You know death is coming. You know your time is limited. And instead of cowering in fear, you live even harder. You dream bigger. You take more risks. That's not weakness. That's incredible strength. Jiwoo had never thought about it that way. To her, human mortality was just a fact of life, something everyone accepted. But seeing it through Kang Ho's eyes, through the perspective of someone who had lived 7.5 centuries, it looked different. It looked like courage. We're not brave, she said. We're just working with what we have. That's what bravery is, Kang Ho said. Not the absence of fear or limitation, but the refusal to let those things stop you. They stood in comfortable silence for a while. The sun had fully set now, and stars were beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Can I tell you something? Jiwoo asked. Something I haven't told anyone else? Yes. I'm terrified, she admitted. Every single day. I wake up and I think, what am I doing here? I'm 19. I should be at school, hanging out with friends, figuring out what I want to do with my life. Instead, I'm married to a dragon leader, trying to help prevent a war, making decisions that could affect billions of lives. Sometimes I feel like I'm going to collapse under the weight of it all." "But you don't collapse," Kang Ho observed. "No," Ji-woo said, "because I can't. Too many people are counting on this to work. My family back on Earth. All the humans who want peace. Even your people, whether they know it or not. If I fail, if I give up, the war could start again. People will die. So I keep going, even when I'm scared, even when I don't know if I'm doing the right thing." Kang Ho reached out and gently took her hand. His skin was warm, almost hot, and she could feel the strength in his grip. "I've lived for 750 years, he said quietly. "And I don't think I've ever met anyone as strong as you." Ji-woo looked up at him, surprised. "That can't be true. You've met warriors, leaders, heroes?" "I have," Kang Ho interrupted, "and many of them were strong in body or mind. But you're strong in spirit. You face impossible odds with grace and determination. You care deeply about doing the right thing, even when it costs you. You bring out the best in people around you. That's rare, Ji-woo. That's precious." Something shifted between them in that moment. It was subtle, like a door opening or a wall coming down. Ji-woo realized that Kang Ho wasn't just being kind or diplomatic. He meant every word. And she realized something else too. Over the past 3 weeks, she had started to care about him. Not just as a political partner or as the dragon leader she had married to secure peace, but as a person, as someone interesting and thoughtful and kind in ways she hadn't expected. "Kang Ho," she said softly, "when you chose me from all those applications, did you think we might actually become friends?" "I hoped," he said, "but I didn't dare expect it. Most political marriages are cold, formal arrangements. I thought we might develop mutual respect at best. But this, what we've built over these 3 weeks, this is more than I hoped for." "What is it exactly?" Ji-woo asked. Kang Ho considered the question. "I think it's the beginning of something real, something genuine. I don't know what it will become, and I won't pressure you or rush you. But I want you to know that I value you, Ji-woo. Not as a political asset or a symbol of peace, but as yourself." Ji-woo felt tears prick at her eyes. She had been so focused on being strong, on not showing weakness, that she hadn't realized how much she needed to hear those words. "I value you too," she said. "I came here thinking you'd be some cold, ancient being who saw me as a tool to be used. But you're not. You're kind and patient, and you actually listen when I talk. You take my ideas seriously even though I'm so much younger than you. You've made this easier than it had any right to be." "We make a good team," Kang Ho said with a smile. "We do," Ji-woo agreed. "Dragon wisdom and human urgency. Maybe that's exactly what both our peoples need." "Maybe," Kang Ho said. He looked down at their joined hands, then back up at her face. "Ji-woo, I need to tell you something. You might not like it." "What?" "I'm glad the war happened," he said. "Not for the death and destruction. That was horrible. But because without the war, without the peace treaty, without this marriage arrangement, I never would have met you. And now that I have, I can't imagine going back to the way things were before. You've reminded me what it means to be alive, to care about things, to feel excited about the future. I had forgotten all of that." Ji-woo squeezed his hand. "I'm glad, too," she whispered. "I was scared when I came here. But now, I think this might be exactly where I'm supposed to be." They stood together on the balcony as the night deepened around them, two beings from completely different worlds finding common ground in the most unexpected way. And Kang Ho realized something profound. In his 750 years of life, he had accumulated vast knowledge, great power, and countless experiences. But he had lost something along the way, the ability to be surprised, to be moved, to feel genuine wonder. This young human woman, who would live and die in what felt like a brief moment to him, had given that back to him. She had reminded him that life wasn't just about duration, but about intensity, about making every moment count. For the first time in centuries, Kang Ho found himself grateful for the present moment. Not thinking about the past or planning for the distant future, but simply being here, now, with someone who made him remember why life was worth living. That was Jiwoo's gift. That was humanity's gift. And it was more valuable than all the centuries he had lived. Dawn broke over the mountains with brilliant pink and gold light. Jiwoo stood at the window of the bedroom she now shared with Kang Ho, watching the sunrise. She hadn't slept much, but she wasn't tired. Her mind was too full of thoughts, plans, and possibilities. Behind her, she heard Kang Ho stir. They had spent the night talking, really talking, about their hopes for the future, about what their marriage could mean for both their peoples. Somewhere around midnight, the conversation had shifted from political to personal. They had shared stories, laughed together, and by the time exhaustion finally claimed them, something fundamental had changed between them. "You're up early," Kang Ho said, his voice still rough with sleep. He came to stand beside her at the window. "Did you sleep at all?" "A little," Jiwoo said. "I kept thinking about everything we discussed. About the cultural exchange program, about opening the palace to human visitors, about—" "Jiwoo," Kang Ho interrupted gently, "even you need to rest sometimes." She smiled. "I know, but there's so much to do. We have maybe 3 months before the first evaluation meeting, where both our governments will review how this alliance is working. We need to show them real progress, concrete results." "We've already made progress," Kang Ho said. "You've won over half the clan leaders. The ones who were most skeptical are starting to come around." "Half isn't enough," Jiwoo said. "We need more than tolerance. We need genuine cooperation. And that starts with people actually understanding each other, not just agreeing to a political treaty." There was a knock at the door. Nari entered, looking excited. "My lady sovereign, you have visitors, human visitors. Ambassador Tai-min has arrived with a delegation from Earth." Jiwoo's heart jumped. She hadn't seen anyone from home since the wedding ceremony. "Tell them we'll be down in 10 minutes, she said. She dressed quickly in one of her human-style outfits, practical pants and a shirt that allowed her to move freely. Kang Ho put on his formal robes. Together, they hurried down to the main reception hall. Ambassador Tai-min stood waiting, along with 5 other humans Jiwoo didn't recognize. When Tai-min saw her, his face broke into a relieved smile. "Jiwoo," he said, coming forward. "It's good to see you looking well. We've been worried." "I'm fine," Jiwoo assured him. "Better than fine, actually. Ambassador, may I introduce my husband, Sovereign Kang Ho?" Kang Ho bowed slightly, a gesture of respect between equals. "Ambassador Tai-min, welcome to the Dragon Palace. I'm pleased to host Earth's delegation." Tai-min bowed in return, though Jiwoo could see the nervousness in his eyes. Standing before a dragon leader, even in humanoid form, was intimidating. "We've come to check on the Alliance's progress," Tai-min said, "and to discuss some concerns raised by the Earth Coalition." "Concerns?" Jiwoo asked, her stomach sinking. "Some council members worry that the marriage was a mistake," one of the other humans said bluntly. He was an older man with gray hair and a stern expression. "They believe the dragons are using you as a hostage rather than a partner. They want proof that this alliance is real." Jiwoo felt anger flare in her chest, but before she could speak, Kang Ho's hand touched her shoulder gently. "I understand your concerns," Kang Ho said calmly. "You don't know me. You don't trust dragons. The war left deep wounds on both sides. But rather than debate with words, let me show you something. Jiwoo, would you take our guests to the East Wing?" Jiwoo understood immediately. She led the human delegation through the palace to the East Wing, which had been mostly empty when she arrived. Now it was transformed. The rooms had been converted into offices and meeting spaces, and working in those rooms were both dragons and humans, sitting together, talking, planning. "What is this?" Taimin asked, amazed. "The Joint Cultural Center," Jiwoo explained. "Over the past 3 weeks, I've been working with clan leader Haijin to create spaces where humans and dragons can collaborate. We have translation teams working to convert literature from both cultures. We have educators developing curriculum for schools on both human and dragon worlds. We have artists creating fusion works that blend both artistic traditions. And we have historians documenting the war from both perspectives so future generations can learn from our mistakes." She led them through room after room, introducing them to humans and dragons working side by side. The humans seemed amazed. Even the stern older man looked impressed. "This is unexpected," he admitted. "I didn't think dragons would be willing to work with us so closely." "Most weren't at first," Jiwoo said honestly. "But Kang Ho convinced them to give it a chance. And once they started actually talking to humans, actually getting to know us as individuals rather than as enemies, things changed. It's still not perfect. There are tensions, misunderstandings. But it's progress. Real progress." They returned to the reception hall where Kang Ho waited. With him were several clan leaders, including Dong Su, who had been so skeptical at the first meeting. "Ambassador Taimin," Dong Su said formally, "I owe your people an apology. When this alliance was first proposed, I opposed it strongly. I believed humans were too different, too short-lived, too aggressive to ever truly cooperate with dragons. I was wrong." Taimin's eyebrows rose. "That's quite an admission, clan leader." "It's the truth," Dong Su said. "Your Lady Jiwoo has taught me something important. She's shown me that strength comes in many forms. Dragons are strong because we endure, because we have the wisdom of centuries. But humans are strong because you create, because you innovate, because you refuse to accept limitations. Both kinds of strength have value. Together, we are stronger than either species alone." Another clan leader stepped forward. "We've drafted a proposal," she said, handing a data tablet to Taimin, "for expanded cooperation between our peoples. Trade agreements, technology exchanges, joint defense pacts. We believe this alliance should be more than symbolic. It should be practical, beneficial for both sides." Taimin scrolled through the tablet, his eyes widening. "This is comprehensive. You've thought of everything." "Jiwoo thought of most of it," Kang Ho said. "She identified gaps in our economies where we could help each other. She found areas where dragon technology could benefit humans and human innovation could benefit dragons. She created a framework for cooperation that serves everyone's interests." "In 3 weeks?" the stern man asked, looking at Jiwoo with new respect. "I didn't have time to waste," Jiwoo said simply. "Every day that passes without progress is a day where old hatreds can grow back. We needed to show people, both humans and dragons, that working together produces real results." Taimin looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled. "The coalition was worried about you. They thought you might be overwhelmed, manipulated, or worse. But I can see you're not just surviving here. You're thriving. You're making a real difference." "I had help," Jiwoo said, glancing at Kang Ho. "This wasn't just me. Kang Ho and the clan leaders who were willing to take risks, to try something new. They made this possible." "We pushed each other," Kang Ho said. "Jiwoo pushed us to move faster, to be bolder. We pushed her to think long-term, to build foundations that will last. Together, we've created something neither side could have done alone." The stern man stepped forward and bowed to Jiwoo. "I came here ready to recommend that Earth withdraw from this alliance. I thought it was a trap, a way for dragons to control us, but I was wrong. Lady Jiwoo, you've done your people proud. You've shown us what's possible when we choose courage over fear." Jiwoo felt tears threatening but blinked them back. "Thank you," she said quietly. The rest of the day was spent in meetings, showing the Earth delegation everything that had been accomplished. They toured the palace, met with various dragons, saw the joint projects in action. By evening, when the delegation prepared to leave, even the most skeptical among them seemed convinced. "We'll report back to the coalition," Taemin said as he prepared to board the transport. "I believe they'll be very pleased. You've exceeded all expectations, Jiwoo." "Tell them this is just the beginning," Jiwoo said. "We have so much more planned. Cultural festivals, student exchange programs, joint exploration missions. Humans and dragons working together can accomplish amazing things." "I believe you," Taemin said warmly. He hugged her, which surprised her. "Your parents asked me to check on you. They're very proud, even if they're also worried." "Tell them I'm happy," Jiwoo said. "Tell them I've found my purpose." After the delegation left, Jiwoo and Kang Ho stood together watching the transport disappear into the sky. "You were magnificent today," Kang Ho said. "We were magnificent," Jiwoo corrected. "I meant what I said. This only works because we're doing it together." Kang Ho turned to face her fully. "Jiwoo, I need to tell you something. When I first proposed this marriage alliance, I saw it as a necessary political move, a way to end the war and create stability. I hoped we might develop mutual respect, maybe even friendship. But what's happened between us? It's become something more, something I didn't expect." "What do you mean?" Jiwoo asked, though her heart was already racing. "I mean that somewhere over the past 3 weeks, I stopped thinking of you as a political partner and started thinking of you as someone I care about, deeply. Someone who makes me want to be better, do better. Someone who's changed how I see the world." Jiwoo took his hand. "I feel the same way," she admitted. "I came here thinking this would be a sacrifice, a duty I had to perform for the greater good. But being with you, working with you, learning from you, it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me." "Even though I'm an ancient dragon and you're a young human?" Kang Ho asked with a slight smile. "Especially because of that," Jiwoo said. "You've lived 750 years, but you still find ways to surprise me, to make me laugh, to challenge me to think differently. And I hope I do the same for you." "You do," Kang Ho said. "You remind me why life matters, why every moment is precious. In my long life, I've never felt more alive than I do when I'm with you." He leaned down and gently kissed her forehead. It was a chaste kiss, respectful, but it held so much promise for the future. "So where do we go from here?" Jiwoo asked. "Forward," Kang Ho said. "Together, building this alliance, yes, but also building our own relationship, taking it one day at a time. You've taught me that the present matters just as much as the future, so let's focus on now." "Now sounds perfect," Jiwoo agreed. They walked back into the palace hand in hand. Around them, humans and dragons were working together, talking, laughing, building bridges between their worlds. It was messy and complicated and sometimes difficult. But it was working. Jiwoo looked around at everything they had accomplished in just 3 weeks and felt a surge of hope. If they could do this much in such a short time, what could they achieve in a year, in 10 years, in her whole lifetime? She was 19 years old. She had maybe 60 or 70 years ahead of her. To a dragon like Kang Ho, that was barely a moment. But Jiwoo was determined to make it a moment that mattered, a moment that changed everything, because that's what humans did. They didn't have the luxury of centuries, so they made their brief lifetimes count. They dreamed big, worked hard, and refused to let anything stop them. And now, with dragons as their partners, with Kang Ho by her side, Jiwoo believed humanity could achieve things they had never imagined possible. The alliance between humans and dragons wasn't just political anymore. It was personal. It was real. and it was only the beginning of something extraordinary. As they entered the palace together, Jiwoo smiled. She had married a 750-year-old dragon leader to save her people from war. But what happened that first night, and every night since, was something far more valuable. She had found a partner, a friend, and maybe someday, true love. And together, they were going to change the galaxy.